Shock inside royal walls as Prince William abruptly storms out of a high-level meeting after Camilla's name is raised in a tense discussion. Witnesses describe visible anger and sudden silence before his dramatic exit. The moment exposes deep family fractures and signals a new power shift inside the monarchy. The meeting takes a sharp turn, and it happened behind palace doors, a high-level royal strategy meeting meant to address succession, public image, and internal unity. The stakes were clear, and the tension was already in the air. Seated around the table, senior royals, key aides, and the king himself. Advisors began outlining agendas and assigning roles for the upcoming months. Then, unexpectedly, Camilla's name was raised. It wasn't on the official notes, but it came up in connection with internal influence, described by one attendee as unhelpful interference. That one mention changed everything. Prince William's expression shifted instantly. His jaw clenched, and according to one witness, you could feel the room freeze. Within moments, and without a word, William stood, turned, and walked out. Chairs shifted. Aides looked down. No one followed. The entire room just stopped breathing for a second, one insider later revealed. And just like that, what was meant to be a united royal meeting became something else entirely. What exactly was said about Camilla? Multiple sources claim the moment began when a senior advisor raised concerns about Camilla's behind-the-scenes role. He reportedly suggested that her influence over royal decisions was growing beyond her remit. The language was careful, but the meaning was clear. Another voice immediately stepped in to defend her. Citing her consistency and diplomatic value, the rebuttal only made the exchange more heated. Voices rose, and the table became divided, not just over policy, but over loyalty. At the center of the storm, Prince William. As soon as his stepmother's name was tied to internal friction, something changed in his demeanor. His history with Camilla has always been a delicate subject, and the mention of her in critical context struck a personal nerve. Without asking for the floor, without addressing the room, William stood and exited, his silence louder than any outburst. The moment left King Charles speechless, and the remaining royals rattled. Everyone knew that door slam meant more than frustration. It meant defiance, said one witness familiar with the mood, and the consequences would ripple far beyond that meeting room. Why William reacted so strongly? To the public, the moment may have seemed dramatic, but to those who know the history, it was deeply personal. Prince William's relationship with Camilla has always been complicated, shaped by decades of private pain and public scrutiny. Though time and duty forced a kind of civility, the emotional scars from Princess Diana's legacy have never fully faded. Insiders say William has worked hard to modernize the monarchy, focusing on transparency, youth engagement, and public trust. So when Camilla's name was brought up in a tense policy debate, especially framed around internal influence, it didn't feel like strategy. It felt like a provocation. To William, it wasn't just about structure, it was about principle. Allowing Camilla to be discussed as a power broker in a room shaping the monarchy's future touched something raw. It wasn't the first time, but this time he'd had enough. He saw it crossing a line, and he wanted everyone to know it, a palace aide shared. The walkout wasn't planned. It wasn't theatrical. It was instinct, a sign that under the polished surface, real wounds remain. Tension behind palace walls. That single moment reignited what many close to the family already knew. Tensions have never fully settled behind royal walls. Sources say the palace has long tiptoed around moments where William, Charles, and Camilla don't align. This meeting blew that tension wide open. Advisors recalled previous conflicts, like the royal Christmas walk debate, when William pushed back on Camilla's visibility during key appearances. At the time, it was framed as a scheduling issue. Now, it seems part of a pattern. When Camilla's role was painted as a potential obstacle to unity, some expected William to defend his father. Instead, his walkout sent a louder message. He's not afraid to break protocol to make a point. He doesn't do things like this lightly, one royal correspondent noted. So when he does, it means something's boiling underneath. The other royals reportedly sat in strained silence. No one followed. No one stopped him. And in that stillness, one truth was clear. This family is far from healed. What William thought was at stake. For Prince William, this wasn't about one comment. It was about control over the monarchy's direction. Insiders say he's determined to shape a future that reflects modern values, efficiency, transparency, and emotional integrity. So when the conversation shifted, and Camilla's role was framed as more influential than expected, it struck a nerve. To William, her involvement doesn't just complicate decisions, it blurs lines of trust. He reportedly felt the discussion was heading into dangerous territory, where personal loyalty was outweighing strategic clarity. And that, in his eyes, was unacceptable. What made it worse was the tone. Advisors weren't just debating logistics. They were leaning into personal alliances. For William, it wasn't a political disagreement anymore. It felt like the room was entertaining a dynamic he fundamentally opposed. He felt the future of the crown was being shaped in the wrong way, and he wasn't going to sit quietly through it, said one source close to the planning team. His exit wasn't just emotional, it was a message. William would not endorse or enable a system that ignores the lessons of the past, especially when that system still bears Camilla's shadow. Camilla's position and public image. Camilla has spent over 2 decades trying to shift public perception, and, to a large extent, it worked. Her royal duties, charity work, and calmer public tone have helped stabilize her image. But inside the palace, it's clear her presence still divides opinion. Behind closed doors, some see her as a steadying hand for King Charles. Others view her as a lingering symbol of an era the monarchy is still trying to move past. That contradiction came to the surface the moment her name was spoken in that meeting. While she wasn't present, the reverberation was instant. Her name alone sparked the most dramatic moment the palace has seen in months. That speaks volumes about her position, powerful in title, but still fragile in perception. She's respected by many, yes, said one courtier, but loved, trusted, that's a different matter. Even now, after all these years, Camilla remains a lightning rod, not just for public opinion, but for the private power plays that continue to shape the royal family's future. Charles caught in the middle. King Charles had hoped the meeting would bring direction, maybe even peace, but instead, it exposed the deep cracks forming around him. Caught between his son and his wife, Charles was forced into an impossible position. He reportedly called for measured language and unity after William's departure. But by then, the mood had soured beyond repair. Sources close to the king say he was visibly frustrated, even shaken. While he didn't publicly take sides, those in the room noticed his tone changed. His planned remarks were cut short. His expressions tightened. Privately, Charles has long tried to balance personal loyalty to Camilla with respect for William's vision, but this meeting proved the two may no longer be compatible. The fact that William didn't even glance back as he left said it all. "This was supposed to be a strategy meeting," one senior aide muttered afterward, "and it ended as a family fracture in real time. What's left now is a king forced to manage two royal forces, one his queen, the other his heir, and no clear path to satisfy both." Reaction from other royals. As the door closed behind Prince William, the room was silent. A few senior aides exchanged tense glances, while others sat frozen. The shock wasn't just about the walkout. It was about what it symbolized: an open break inside the firm. One advisor tried to shift gears with procedural notes, attempting to steer the meeting back to its agenda. But it was too late. The energy had changed. Some in the room, particularly those aligned with Charles, quietly saw William's move as a challenge to the king's authority. Others, though, understood it as something else: a defensive stand from a future monarch unwilling to compromise on certain values. "He walked out to make a point, and it landed," one royal staffer observed. "No one knew what to say after that." The rest of the meeting dragged on with strained conversation, but nothing substantial was achieved. The unity they came to build had instead been broken in plain sight, and no one dared to pretend otherwise. Palace leaks and public rumors. After the walkout. Within hours of Prince William's dramatic exit, the story had already leaked. Not through official channels, but through carefully worded whispers picked up by media insiders and online royal watchers. By that afternoon, hashtags like William Walkout and Camilla Clash were trending across platforms. Some reports claimed William canceled scheduled duties for the following day, fueling rumors that the fallout wasn't over. A short video clip of him leaving Kensington Palace, looking tense and unsmiling, was enough to ignite speculation. Tabloids published headlines like "Fury Behind the Gates" and "Windsor Rift Erupts." Unofficial sources claimed the argument centered on Camilla's growing role, but with no comment from the palace, the mystery only deepened. In the absence of facts, narratives took over. Some described William's move as a principled stand. Others painted it as emotional overreaction. "There's smoke, and everyone knows there's fire," one royal commentator said on air. And as is often the case with the royals, silence only made the story louder. What this spill means for the future. This wasn't just a tense meeting, it was a warning shot. Prince William's walkout sent a clear signal. He is not afraid to stand alone if it means defending his vision for the monarchy. And that vision may not include Camilla's current level of influence. For King Charles, this moment forces a choice. Does he continue trying to balance personal loyalty with institutional survival? Or will he have to confront the growing divide between his two most powerful relationships? The monarchy now faces more than policy questions. It's navigating raw, personal conflict out in the open. The attempt at unity has cracked, and the public knows it. "This wasn't just about Camilla," one insider said. "This was about control, legacy, and who gets to shape the future." And now, with tensions exposed and no clear resolution in sight, one question looms larger than ever. Was this a one-time clash, or the beginning of a royal reckoning? Prince William's walkout wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. His reaction to Camilla's name being raised revealed unresolved tension and unspoken boundaries. As King Charles struggles to balance loyalty and leadership, the monarchy now faces a growing divide. This wasn't a slip, it was a statement, and the world noticed.